Dr. Münch. Dear conference participants, friends, Anna Wiemann, my co-president of the German Association for Japanese Studies, German Association for the Social Science Research on Japan, complicated word. We would like to welcome you all very warmly to our conference on sustainability in Japan. This year I'm not only here as the co-president of our association, but I'm also one of the organizers together with Barbara Holthus from the German Institute for Japanese Studies and Axel Klein from the University of Duisburg-Essen. And well, obviously we would like to first say a few words of thanks before we talk about the program. So let me start by expressing really our gratitude to the institutions and people that have made this possible. And as you know, and as Dr. Münch also pointed out, we have ever so often been grateful to have the event of our association being hosted at the JZB, and obviously once again, we are very grateful for the support, logistical and financial support that we have received. Thank you very much. Yeah. Perhaps a warm word, a warm hand. Yeah. I would also like to take this opportunity to really thank a number of people. I mentioned Dr. Münch already, but also Matsumoto Kenji, Dr. Phoebe Holtgrün, Mr. Reinhold Ranowski, Mrs. Amelie Lechtape, and most of all the technical team that will support us. So you don't see the people in the room, but perhaps also we use the opportunity to thank them. And then finally, obviously, to mention other substantial financial support, we are indebted to the German Institute for Japanese Studies and to the, well, they don't have an English name, so the Gesellschaft von Freunden und Förderern der Heinrich Heine Universität. So they have been instrumental really in making this possible. And finally, also the association, our VSJF, I also have to practice, subsidizes again studentships and also people that are presenting in the section meetings tomorrow. Okay, now let me say a few things about the structure of our conference. When we sat down, the three of us, brainstorming how to structure this event and whom to invite, we started to take a good look at the Sustainable Development Goals as they were adopted in 2015 by the United Nations. The 2030 Sustainable Agenda for Sustainable Development created 17 of those goals, as you can see them here, and they aim to essentially promote global goals, peace and prosperity for people and the planet, while tackling climate change and working to preserve oceans and forests. And as you can see from the slide, they really cover a whole range, a wide area: elimination of poverty, health and education, gender equality, working conditions, strong institutions, climate action, responsible consumption and production. So what is important here, I think, is that the SDGs highlight sort of these connections between the environmental, the social, and the economic aspects of sustainable development. However, given the short time that we have at such a conference here, we really thought that we had to limit our focus, and so we decided to look primarily at environmental aspects of sustainable development. Having said this, actually our introductory address later by Gregory Jackson, as well as our keynote speech tomorrow by Sighart Neckel, will cast a wider net. So they will look at issues of sustainability sort of globally. For example, Gregory Jackson will later talk about the concept of corporate social responsibility, sort of as a business model by which companies voluntarily sort of operate in ways to enhance rather than degrade society and the environment. And so the idea is that the introductory address today and the keynote speech tomorrow will frame our discussion. So putting the Japanese situation into context, having a bit of a global discourse, and then helps us to develop a general understanding about some of the key challenges and themes. And then obviously the other papers of the conference are focused on exploring particular aspects of sustainability in Japan. So that's the logic, whether convincing or not, we will see, of our conference program. With this, I hand over to Barbara to say a few more things.
All right, a very warm welcome from me as well to this conference on sustainability in Japan. So when exactly a year ago, right in this room, Harald was announcing that he will host the next VSJF conference on the topics of sustainability, immediately I knew that the DIJ, so the German Institute for Japanese Studies, should be part of this conversation. So after approaching Harald, we, so the DIJ, eventually became co-organizers with him and with Axel, who's leading the climate initiative of the VSJF. But why did I think that the DIJ should be such a prominent player at this conference? Well, because already 2 years ago in 2022, we founded one of our new research clusters, namely sustainability in Japan. So this research cluster, no, frozen, okay, hold on. There you go, all right. So this research cluster is a sort of academic platform in which we discuss matters of sustainability from really various perspectives. It's actually a great example of the multidisciplinary approaches of our institute. And apart really from the wide range of topics, we engage in various levels of analysis. So that includes human individuals, non-human actors, so for example, animals, but also families, communities, organizations, and Japan as a whole. These diverse approaches enable us really to understand some of the most crucial aspects of the complexities of sustainability. In our research cluster, we aim at analyzing current events in Japan, a country that has really directed much of its attention to the sustainability development goals that Harald just briefly explained. More specifically, at the DIJ, we focus on 3 core areas of sustainability, that is resilience, diversity and inclusion, as well as green transformation, as you can see here. So our projects on resilience cover studies ranging from relations of human and non-human actors to the problem of demographic decline, as well as the social life, particularly in rural areas. We demonstrate ways in which Japanese stakeholders deal with challenges such as posed by, for example, natural disasters and population decline. Our researchers working on diversity and inclusion seek to understand the social fabric of contemporary Japan by investigating its particularities and marginalities. We analyze, for example, representations of disabilities in contemporary Japanese literature. We focus on issues of mental health in Japanese society and also discuss the inclusion of older adults in Japanese society. And last but not least, we contribute to research on Japan's green transformation by providing insights into carbon pricing strategies and developments in green finance. And therefore, as you will surely have noticed, therefore we have several of these conference speakers here are from the DIJ, our researchers, or even our director. All right, so as we are at the DIJ located in Tokyo, I thought I'll start the conversation by and setting sort of the stage for the next 3 days of us discussing here by showing you how inundated we are within the cityscape with SDGs. right? So, for example, you can take the SDG train on your daily commute to and from work. Right, but let's look just a little bit back to Tokyo's largest mega event that we had in recent history, so the Tokyo Olympics 2020, 2021, because it was their major selling point, was their contribution to sustainability, however, of course, obligated by the IOC. So you see here detailed messaging that promise you a colorful, bright future. And for the Tokyo Olympics, though, particularly inclusion and diversity were the main elements of sustainability and also the focus of Olympic education in school curricula at the time throughout Japan. But I believe recycling really is the most popular sustainability action in Japan. But as you see here, the Tokyo Olympics also had recycling as a big, at least symbolic element. The Olympic medals were manufactured out of scrap materials collected throughout the country, as well as the Olympic torches. They were recycled from kasetsu jutaka, so the temporary housing that had been built to shelter the people who lost their homes after the triple disaster of March 2011. But there are so many other events happening throughout Tokyo that focus on the issue of sustainability. So here you have the Sustainability Expo 2024 that was held this summer in July, which was part of the so-called Lifestyle Week Expo. It, of course, advocated consuming in good capitalist fashion, but better products, right? Recycled products. So one of the products, for example, were traditional teapots that were welded from scrap car engines. But there are so many other very colorful, fun SDG events that were held for, or are being held for a general audience. So you have summer or fall SDG, matsuri, festivals. They are all very, the fun element is taking center stage. They are very much focused are family-friendly, focused on parents and their children. You have SDG weeks and numerous SDG contests, mostly also geared towards younger children. All right. But also the city of Tokyo itself advertises its municipal government contributions to SDGs and also its efforts to push for sustainable tourism. And the Tokyo Metro actually has been labeling its entire annual report by its SDG efforts. All right, but there's been also numerous sustainability-related events, just for example, more with a specialized focus. Here, the Tokyo Sustainable Finance Forum, the Sustainability Summit, and you have the SDGs Forum Symposium of the Nikkei newspaper, an event on sustainable fisheries, and so on and so on. Companies use SDGs also as boosters. Right, by proudly displaying their SDG awareness. You have here television station, newspaper, Tokyo Gas, and hotels. But even right at the DIJ home, Sophia University campus, right, you see SDGs pretty much connected to anything going on there. Be it construction plans or the water refill station that tells you that you're aiding in 4 different SDGs, right? So you can really feel good for all you do for sustainability by simply quenching your thirst, right? And filling up your eco bottle. That, of course, you can purchase anywhere as well, right? So overall, SDGs are colorful. They make you happy. SDGs really have become a fetish and have pretty much denigrated into a pure marketing tool. The fundamental message, as I see it, is what already has been done for sustainability by the simplest measures, right? But to a certain degree, I think this somehow kills the need to do more or that you're even daring to question more radical lifestyle changes. Right? A look into Japanese press, of course, does show you a more differentiated discourse. Japan, anyway, a country that is battered by natural disasters, that's always been experiencing them, but now they are elevated in the severity of dangers from storms, from floods, and from heat. And if you've read the Japanese news yesterday, you might be aware that Mount Fuji's missing snow cap was the longest period on record. Now that the number of heat stroke victims in 2024 was the highest ever, and in 2024, Japan lost 2 billion working labor hours due to heat, right? So now, of course, we know climate change is an existential threat to humanity. But while the more or less global community makes treaties, climate protocols, right now we have COP29 going on in Azerbaijan, major stakeholders like the US, in the interest of economic supremacy, starting 2025, will forgo climate concerns altogether and call climate change a hoax, and as The Guardian called it, become a wrecking ball regarding climate action. So now what, right? So eventually every country themselves has to battle the issue by itself to protect what they can. They are humans and non-humans alike, and therefore we believe it's really important to look what is going on the ground in Japan in particular. So as you see in Japan, a lot is done already in the realm of infrastructure, but it is literally a game of catch-up to the high-speed growing severity of climate change. So let's hope, as this television show is saying, that sustainability really can change everything or anything and does not remain only an empty marketing tool. So where sustainability very recently has remained, though, a curious blank spot, however, as I would call it, is the election campaigning of the October 27 national election that showed that climate change and climate actions were unfortunately not a major campaign issue for the majority of competing political parties. But with that, I hand the mic over to our political scientist in the group, Axel Klein. Thank you.
Hello, good to see you all. Thank you for coming. Those of you who live in Japan, who have followed the last election closely, are familiar with this next slide. Two screenshots from websites, one of them on the left side, NHK. They have a very broad coverage of the lower house election from October 27th. And you can see in the lower left corner, those are the crucial points that this election was supposed to be about in terms of policy, and try to find sustainability, climate, or environment in there. I give you 10 seconds, and then I spoil it. It's not on the list. On the right side, you can see one of those typical surveys from the Akarui Senkyo Suishinkai. And this is what is really important to you when you cast your vote. And there are 22 options to choose from, 23 if you count, I have no idea. And apparently 3.4% of all who answered this had no idea what they were really paying attention to when they cast their vote. That in itself is a remarkable result, I think. But if you look at this, again, there is not even as an option sustainability or the environment. And I think that tells you a lot. It tells you a lot about if this topic plays a role when it comes to the core element of Japan's democracy, which are elections, and makes you think. By the way, immigration is not on here either, so two of the topics that I think dominate, for example, German election campaigns, are apparently not very relevant in Japan. So this conference, and this slide doesn't have any particular meaning except for it's another one of those nice pictures that Barbara took in Japan to show you how omnipresent SDG is everywhere in public life. I think you can't walk any subway tunnel without meeting SDGs there. This conference is meant to promote our engagement with sustainability as an academic community. We think it is necessary and called for to deal more intensively with this topic. One reason being that I think we're being overtaken by real life. As far as the urgency of this topic is concerned, by the consequences of many of the aspects that Harald mentioned when it comes to what exactly sustainability means. Climate change is just one example. So if you would like to rephrase it, we could call this conference "No Japan Scholar Left Behind." That's a bit, I think, how I see this. And there's another reason for that. Miranda Schois, who we would have loved to invite, but she was busy. In one of her presentations, she said how important the work and research of German universities is when it comes to technological change for sustainability. And I think our contribution as social scientists must be of a different kind. In terms of the academic research, we've looked at, or we organized this conference according to the well-known three sections: economic, society, and politics. And in each of these three sections, it was really difficult to find out which topics to deal with and who to invite. And I hope you will like our choices and selections. We are really grateful for everyone who has agreed to present here at this conference. It wasn't easy. And what about teaching? Those of you who teach, you may have realized that there is a large interest among students when it comes to sustainability. And maybe that is something we should also use. In a way, you may even, at the end of this conference, come to the conclusion you can't really teach Japan on Japan without addressing sustainability. We do have, since last summer term, a VSJF video course on offer. If you'd like to use that, get in touch with me. It's a number of, I think by now, 12 videos that you can use as parts of a course on sustainability in Japan. A number of VSJF members have contributed, thankfully, to this, and it covers from history to present day issues, a lot of ground when it comes to, in this particular case, climate and the environment in Japan. We've also tried, when we organized this conference, to be sustainable in the way that we decided on the food that will be served at this conference. It's organic food. We've tried to use video conferences to reduce the carbon footprint of flying. And at the end, and that's why Heine is standing there in the back, we'll have all of the presentations here as a very nice video series on YouTube. So that is sustainable as well. Maybe there's another course that you want to use a couple of these videos. So they will be kept. Even if you couldn't attend this conference, you will still be able to watch all of the presentations. And the last thing I would like to say is we've tried not to cram too much content into this conference, not too many presentations, because we wanted you to engage with the speakers and to discuss what you hear, and maybe keep in the back of your mind this question, what can we do? Thank you.
Okay. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you shortly our introductory address speaker, Professor Gregory Jackson from Free University Berlin, who is an expert on employment relations. I think our paths crossed in the early 2000s when Gregory was working at RIETI, the Research Institute of METI. And he has since then had an incredible academic career, King's College, University of Bath, and then finally here at Free University. He works on corporate governance and how corporate governance is influenced by diverse organizational and institutional contexts. That's sort of the focus of his research. He works very much cross-nationally, and that's why we thought it's a good idea to put Japan into perspective. What is Japan doing in comparison to other countries? If you go on Google Scholar and check for citations, you will see that Gregory Jackson is really one of the major scholars in the field. So I don't think I need to say anything more. I'm looking forward to your address, and please give a warm hand to Gregory. Yeah.